Hello everyone, in this video we'll create an integration to import employees into Oracle HCM Cloud using HDL. Now what is HDL? So in Oracle Cloud, HDL refers to HCM data loader, which is a process for bulk loading data into Oracle HCM Cloud. The process involves creating DAT files, zipping them and importing the zip file into Oracle HCM Cloud for processing. Now to get the DAT file structure, I'll go to Oracle Fusion and I'll click on the right arrow to find the My Client Groups. So I'll click on the My Client Groups and I'll go down. Then I'll choose Data Exchange. Now under the HCM data loader, I'll click on View Business Objects. Here you will find the DAT file structure of all the HCM business objects like employee, department, position, location, organization, grade, etc. For the employee creation, I'll search with worker in the business object column and I will enter. You can see you are getting the business object worker with dat file name as worker.dat. Now I'll click on the download button under template file to download the dat file structure. I have opened the file and we can see all the employee components which are starting with metadata like worker, person address, person citizenship, person delivery method, etc. We have more than 30 components are there for employee, but all these are not mandatory. To find the mandatory components, again I'll go to Oracle Fusion and I'll click on the business object worker. Here the mandatory components are identified by the small circle before any components. We can see the circle before the component worker, and if you hover on it, you can see it is mentioned required for new records. If I go down, then we can find the small circle before person name, work relationship, employee terms and assignment as well. That means these components are also mandatory to create an employee. And if you choose attributes of any components like person name, then you can see all the fields of it as well as the mandatory fields which are identified by the same circle. Now in OIC, we'll create our dat file which will have all these 5 mandatory components with the mandatory and some more fields within each component. We'll get the data in the dat file from source employee data file. So this is our source data file where we have 3 lines excluding the header for 3 employees. Now to create the dat file, we need a NXSD file where we will define structure of the dat file, and I already created that file. You can see this is the NXSD file and here root element is worker file data. We know that we need 5 mandatory components for employee creation and all these components are mentioned here with the header and data part. Like worker label is the header of the worker component and it will be identified by metadata. So that is why starts with metadata is mentioned. And the data part is worker which is identified by marge. So that means for each component we have to mention metadata for header and marge for data. You can see in the third line person label is for person name header where metadata is mentioned, and for data person name is there with marge, and this is applicable for the rest 3 components as well, which are work relationship, work terms and assignment. Now I'll go down and we can see the attributes for each header and data components are mentioned starting from worker, then person name, work relationship, work terms and ending with assignment. Now the attributes for each component are terminated by pipe, as the dat file will be the pipe delimited file, and in the last attribute for each component terminated by ul or end of line is mentioned, as the next component will be displayed in the next line. Now for each component we have to use source system owner and source system ID. Source system owner acts as a reference to the source application and Combination of both are used to uniquely identify a record. Source system ID is also used to link the components. Like in worker, the source system ID for any record will be used in the person ID of person name, work relationship, and work terms to link these components for any respective records. Similarly, the source system ID for work relationship will be used in the period of service ID of work terms, and the source system ID of work terms will be used in the work terms assignment ID of assignment to link these components as well. Now all these values will derive in the mapping of dat file creation, but for source system owner value that we'll use must be defined in a particular lookup, and for that I'll go to Oracle Fusion, and under settings and actions I'll click on setup and maintenance. Then I'll go to task and click on search. Now I'll search with manage common lookups and click on manage common lookups. Now the lookup type for the source system owner will be hrc underscore source system underscore owner. Now I'll search. Now I'll go down. So this is the lookup where you have to provide your source system owner, or you can use any existing if you have. Like I will use hrc underscore SQL loader. Now I'll go to OIC, and for our integration we need two connections which are FTP and HCM Cloud. So the FTP connection is already created. To create the FTP connection, you have to mention FTP server host address, port. Under optional properties, you have to mention SFTP connection as yes. And under the security, you have to provide username and password. Now I'll create the HCM Cloud adapter connection. So I'll click on the create button and search for HCM. Then I'll select Oracle HCM Cloud. I'll provide the name as HCM Cloud 001. And for the role I'll select invoke. Now I'll click on create. Now here we have to provide HCM Cloud host, which is nothing but Fusion URL, and then one HCM username with password. So I have already provided this. Now I'll test. You can see the connection was tested successfully. Now I'll save this connection. So connection is saved successfully as well. Now I'll go to integrations and click on the create button to create our integration. So I'll choose schedule integration and provide the name as intg021 as it is our 21st integration. I'll click on create. First I'll make it horizontal. Now the schedule option, I'll click on this three dot and click on edit. Here I'll provide few parameters which are source file path and source file name. So I'll click on plus and provide the first parameter which is file path, and create one more parameter which is file name. Now I'll save. Now we'll read our source employee data file. But before that, we have to move that file into one of the SFTP location. So I'll open WinSCP and upload our source data file, which is worker.csv, into this SFTP location. Now to read our source data file, I'll click on plus and search with FTP connection, which is FTP001. Here I'll provide the name as read source data file. Continue. Continue. The operation will be read a file which is already selected. I'll not put anything in the input directory and file name. I'll provide this in the mapping. Continue. Now here we have to upload the source data file structure. So I'll continue and upload our source data file. Now for the record name I'll provide employee, and for the record set I'll provide employees. I'll go down and check the column option checkbox. It will make all the column as optional. I'll choose first column as mandatory. Now I'll continue, finish. Now I'll go to the map of read source data file and expand file read request. Here we have to map file name and directory, and that I will get from the parameters of the schedule option. So I'll map file name to file name and file path to directory. We'll provide the values of file name and file path when we'll trigger the integration. After reading the source data file, we have to create the dat file, and in the dat file we'll populate the data from the source data file. For that, I'll click on the plus and search for stage file. Here I'll provide the name as create dat file. Continue. So the stage file operation will be write file. Now we have to provide the file name and the output directory. So for the employee creation dat file, the file name is worker.dat, and for the output directory name, I'll provide slash temp slash emp slash dat. So it will be a directory within OIC. Now I'll continue. Now here we have to provide the structure of the dat file, and for that we have to upload the NXSD file. So instead of CSV, I'll choose XML schema document, which is XSD. Continue. Now we'll upload our NXSD file. So this is our NXSD file, worker.nxsd. I'll choose this. So for the schema element, we have to choose the root element. So for that, I'll select this and choose worker file data, which is our root element. And for your reference, I'll provide the link of both of these source data file and the NXSD file in the description. Now I'll continue, then finish. Now I'll go to the map of create dat file. Now I'll expand worker file data and provide the attribute names to create the header for all the components like worker level, person name level, work relationship level, work terms level, and assignment level. So first of all, I'll expand worker level and I'll provide the name for all these fields to create the worker level header. Now for all the attribute names, I'll open our NXSD file. So for the worker level, I'll copy source system owner, and here I'll click on source system owner and click on create target node. Now I'll provide the name as source system owner. Similarly, I'll click on source system ID and click on create target node. Now I'll copy source system ID and provide it here. I'll do the same for all the fields. So you can see the header worker level is ready. Now I'll expand person name level. Again, I'll go to NXSD file and go to the person level section. So we'll do the same for person level as well. So I'll copy the attribute names from here and paste it in the respective fields of the person name level mapping. Now we have provided the attribute names for the person name level and all other components as well, like work relationship level, work terms level, and assignment level. Now please note one thing here, which is if any attribute is linked to the parent attribute of other components, then in that attribute we have to mention source system ID in bracket. Like for person name level, we can see person ID is linked to the source system ID of worker component. So that is why after person ID in the bracket we have to mention source system ID. And if you go to mapping, then we can see we have mentioned this. And this is applicable for 4 more attributes, total 5 attributes. But when we have uploaded this NXSD file in the integration, then we remove this source system ID. If we upload it with source system ID in bracket, then you will get error in the integration. So when you are uploading this file in the create dat file action, then please remove this source system ID with bracket. Only person ID will be there. And this is applicable for 4 more fields. Now we'll do the mapping for the data for each component. So first I will expand worker. For the source system owner, we have to provide a static value from the lookup that we have discussed earlier. Now we can store that value in a variable and map it here, or we can directly put this value in the source system owner field. So I'll click on create target node and provide the value, which is hrc_SQL loader. Now for the source system ID, we have to provide unique value for each records for each component. And that is why I'll expand read source data file response. And under the repeating element employee, we have one field serial number. So in the serial number, we are storing the serial number for each record. Like if we open our CSV data file, then you can see in the serial number field, we have 1, 2, and 3 for first, second, and third record. So to make the source system ID unique for each record and for each component, we will use this serial number with the concatenation of a particular name for a particular component. So I'll click on source system ID and create target node. Now I'll write concat function, and within that, for the worker component, I'll provide wkr, which is the short form of worker, underscore. Then I'll provide the serial number here. So now the source system ID will be unique for the worker component for each record. Now save this. Then I'll map the rest of the fields like effective start date, effective end date. Then for the person number, I'll click on create target node and provide it blank. Person number will be automatically generated when an employee is created. Now for the start date, I'll provide effective start date. Then I'll map action code. Now mapping of all the fields of worker is ready. But we have to map the repeating element as well. So I'll map employee to worker. Now I'll go down and expand person name. Again for the source system owner, I'll click on create target node and provide the same value hrc underscore SQL loader. Then for the source system ID, as we discussed, I'll use the concat function, and first I'll provide a name for person name component that I'll put prn underscore comma, then I'll drag serial number. I'll map the rest of the fields like effective start date, effective end date. For the person ID, we have to provide the source system ID of the worker. So for that, I'll copy the source system ID of the person, and in the person ID, I'll paste it and just change the name from prn to wkr, which is for worker source system ID. Then I'll map the rest of the attributes like name type, legislation code, last name, and first name. Then you have to map the repeating element as well. For that, I will map employee to person name. Now I'll go down and expand work relationship. For the source system owner, we know that we have to map hrc underscore SQL loader. Then for the source system ID, I'll do the same as I did for worker and person name. Like we'll use the concat function and provide a short name for the work relationship component, which is wrl underscore, then comma, and provide the serial number. I'll copy this to use in other attributes. Now for the person ID, we have to provide the source system ID for the worker. So I'll paste it the source system ID of the work relationship, and instead of wrl, I'll provide wkr, which is the source system ID for worker. Now we'll map the rest of the fields like legal employer name. For the date start, I'll provide effective start date, then worker type, primary flag, and lastly I'll map the repeating element employee to work relationship. Now I'll expand work terms. Again for the source system owner, we'll provide hrc underscore SQL loader. For the source system ID, I'll write concat, and within that I'll put a short name for work terms, which is wkt underscore, then comma, and we'll provide the serial number. Then for period of service ID, we have to provide the source system ID for the work relationship. So for that, I'll paste the value that we just copied, and instead of wkt, we have to provide wrl, which is the source system ID for work relationship. Then I'll map the other fields like action code, effective start date, effective end date, effective sequence, effective latest change, primary work terms flag, and for the person ID, we have to provide the source system ID for the worker. So instead of wkt, we'll write wkr, which is the source system ID for worker. Then I'll map business unit short code and assignment status type code. Now I'll expand our last component, which is assignment. For the source system owner, I'll provide the same value, which is hrc underscore SQL loader. For the source system ID, we'll use concat, and within that I'll write the short name for assignment ASSG underscore, then comma, serial number. Then I'll map action code, effective start date, effective end date, effective sequence, effective latest change. Then for the work term assignment ID, I'll paste the source system ID, but here instead of ASSG, I'll write the source system ID of work terms, which is WKT. Then we'll map assignment status type code, person type code, primary assignment flag, and business unit short code. Lastly, we'll map the repeating element employee to assignment. And we have to do it for work terms as well that we missed out. Now it is done. We'll validate. Now we will create a zip file using the dat file and upload that zip file into Oracle HCM Cloud to create the employee. So I'll click on plus and search for stage file. Now I'll provide the name as create zip file. Continue. Here I'll choose the stage file operation as zip files. The file name I'll provide as worker.zip. Now we have to specify the directory from where we'll zip the file. So basically you have to provide the dat file directory. So for that I'll use switch to developer view and expand create dat file. So under the ICS file we can see the directory. We'll drag this here. And for the output directory, like where the zip file is created, I'll provide /temp/emp/zip. Now I'll continue and finish. Now we are ready to upload the zip file into Oracle HCM Cloud. But before that, I want to upload the zip file into our SFTP location for our reference. So for that, I'll search for FTP connection and choose FTP001. Now I'll provide write zip SFTP. Continue. Continue. Here I'll choose the option write file. Output directory I'll provide slash. File name pattern I'll put star. We'll provide this in the mapping. Continue. Here we do not have any structure of the file because we just want to write the file into SFTP location. So I'll choose the option no. Continue. Finish. I'll go to the map. Now I'll expand the outbound FTP header type. For the directory, I'll map file path to directory. And for the file name, I'll expand create zip file response. And under the ICS file, we'll get the file name. So I'll map it to file name. Now I'll expand the ICS file and map the file reference to file reference to write the file into SFTP. Now we'll upload the zip file into Oracle HCM Cloud. For that, I'll search for the connection HCM Cloud and I'll choose HCM Cloud 001. I'll provide the name import employees. Continue. Here we have to choose the option import bulk data using HCM data loader, which is HDL. Then I'll continue. Now we'll choose the first option submit an HCM data loader job. Now for the security group, we have to select FA Fusion Import Export, which is already selected. And for the doc account, we'll search for HCM and we'll choose HCM data loader import. Now I'll continue and finish. Now I'll go to the map of import employees and I will expand OIC file. In the sources, I'll expand the create zip file response. And under the ICS file, we can see the file reference that I will map to file reference. And in the sources, under the properties, we'll map the file name to file name. Now the last thing is we have to provide one primary business identifier that I'll provide as file name. Now I'll save. Now we are ready to activate and run our integration. So I'll activate and then run the integration. Here I'll go down and provide the file name and file path that I'll get from the SFTP. So this is our file path. I'll copy this and paste it under file path. I'll copy the source file name, which is worker.csv, and paste it under file name. Now I'll click on the run button. Now we can see the processing completed successfully. So that means our integration is completed. So first of all, I'll go to the SFTP and refresh. So you can see one file is created, which is worker.zip. Now I'll download this file, then I'll unzip it. So you can see within this zip file, we have the dat file, which is worker.dat. So I'll open this in Notepad++, and this is the dat file that we have created from the source data file. And it will be used to create the 3 employees. Here we can see 5 metadata is there. That means 5 header component. And for each metadata, we have 3 marge, which will be used for 3 employees. Here we have one thing wrong with the file, and that is the spelling of the file name, which is WROKER. So we have to correct this, because if you have wrong file name, then HDL process will not detect any file and it will throw error. So to correct the file name, I will go to OIC and deactivate the integration. Now I'll edit the integration and edit the create that file action. Continue. Here I will correct the file name. So it should be worker.dat. I want to make one more changes, and for that I will edit the map of create that file. Here I want to make all the source system ID unique for each integration run. For that I will add the instance ID of the integration in each of the source system ID. Like I will expand the worker, and in the source system ID I'll add the instance ID. So I'll expand integration metadata, and under runtime details we can see the instance ID. So I'll put a comma here, and after that I'll provide this instance ID. I'll do the same for all source system ID. Now I have provided the instance ID in all the source system ID of 10 places. Now we'll activate and rerun the integration. File name and the file path are already provided. I'll click on the run button. Now we can see the processing completed successfully. I'll go to WinSCP. You can see the worker.zip file is created. I'll download this. Now I'll open the zip file. So you can see that file name is now correct. I'll go to OIC and expand the invoke import employees. I'll view the message processed by invoke import employees. So you can see a process ID is there. I'll copy this process ID and go to Oracle Fusion. Now I'll click on the navigator and I'll go down. Under the tools, I'll choose schedule processes. Here I'll search with the process ID. So you can see this is the ESS job that is submitted for the HDL process, and the status is succeeded. Now here if we expand the parameters, then we'll get a UCM ID. We'll use this UCM ID to check the status of our HDL process. So I'll go to home page, and under the my client groups I'll click on data exchange. Now I'll choose import and load data. Here I'll click on the show filters, and in the content ID I'll paste the UCM ID. Now I'll search. You can see that our dataset name is worker.zip, and under that we have one business object, which is our dat file worker.dat, and the import status and load status are green. That means they are succeeded. And as we have 3 employees and each employee is having 5 components, so total 15 lines are there, and all the lines are successfully imported, and total objects are 3 as we have 3 employees, and all the employees are successfully loaded. And as we have only one business object, and that is successfully imported and loaded, so that our dataset is also successfully imported and loaded. Now I'll verify the employees that are created. So for that I'll go to home page again, and under the my client groups I'll click on person management. Here I'll search with the employee name. So I'll open our source data employee file that is used to create the employees. So here I'll copy the last name and first name of one of the employees. So I'll choose the second employee, which is Henry Clark. So first I'll copy the last name, then put a comma and copy the first name. Now search. So you can see we are getting the employee Henry Clark. So I'll click on this. So here we can see the hire date is 1st Jan 2023. Legal employer is US1 legal entity. Country United States. Worker type is employee. And the same we provided in the file as well. So this is it for this video. If you like this video, please hit the like button. Share this video within your circle. If you have any doubts or any suggestion, put that in the comment section, and do subscribe our channel. Thank you.